high side. Murphy shooting, save a rebound on the view.
We are 4 days away from kickoff at Super Bowl 59 from New Orleans. Welcome, everyone, to our first annual, or our first ever, rather, media stream and prediction stream, whatever you want to call it, pertaining to Super Bowl 59. Largely Canadian, Dennis Rick Rubber Duckwin. We're your host today. We got a line of guests to come and chat with us about the big game. Along with other things, maybe they want to plug something at the very end. That's cool. Because we're here. We're here to talk the Super Bowl. We're here to talk probably one of the biggest games of the year.
Yep, biggest games of the year, even though it's the one matchup that nobody wanted. But we will gladly watch it for the sake of football. And I mean, come on, it's a Super Bowl. What more do you want?
Exactly.
You're talking Super Bowl 59, New Orleans. We got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles meeting for the second time in 3 seasons. It was a classic in Glendale, Arizona. I don't see why this one in New Orleans is going to be any different.
I highly agree with that. But let's not waste any more time. We're on 4:03 Eastern Time. Let's go ahead and welcome the first of many guests joining us from the land of action inside of the lab. Please welcome our first guest of the afternoon. Bring him on in, Duck.
Please welcome Chris from Action Lab on Twitch. How's it going?
What's going on?
How we doing, fellas? How we doing?
We're doing great.
It's good to be here, man. We got a big game coming up this weekend.
Yes, we do.
It's going to be a fun one. Whether you like it or not, you're going to watch. So all the people out there who are like, this is a terrible matchup and I just don't want anything to do with it, you're lying to yourself, because you're going to watch it and it's going to be good one way or another.
Besides, boycotts hardly ever work. Like, you post one bad thing about a certain brand and all of a sudden its sales skyrocket. That's exactly what's going to happen on Sunday for Super Bowl 59. You're going to watch Chiefs and Eagles and you're going to like it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, as much as I'm a Broncos fan and I don't want to see the Chiefs win, I mean, I'm going to be wearing all green this weekend. I'm going to be drinking some green bottled beer. I'm going to be throwing on some green shirt, green hat. I'm going to be rocking all green for Philadelphia. Now, if it wasn't the Chiefs, I would be the complete opposite, because I'm not a big fan of Philadelphia either. But knowing that I have a division rival that could go for a three-peat, it's not something I want to see. So go Eagles.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to see the Chiefs three-peat either, but there is a very high possibility that they will. But let's go ahead, and this is going to be the same basic outline that we have for all of our guests. Basically, we're going to go over the keys of the game for each of these teams, what players you need to watch out for on either side. Who do you think is going to win the game, and who do you think is going to be the MVP? So, Chris, you mentioned the division rival, the Chiefs. What do you think has to happen for the Chiefs to three-peat? What are the keys of the game?
Keys to the game, just keep the game close. The thing with the Chiefs is they're absolutely the best masterminds at making sure that they're in a position at the end of the game to win it. And that's being close, whether they're up by a little bit and all you need to do is stop them for a fourth down, for 4 downs. It's almost impossible to stop the Chiefs 4 downs. So as long as they're ahead, it feels like an uphill battle for your defense. On the flip side, if they're behind, they come in and they win those games one way or another. They find a way. They've trailed in the fourth quarter or overtime in 9 playoff games with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. They've won 6 and forced overtime in 2 of them. They're 17-3 in the playoffs. They're winning at a percentage that at least Mahomes is at a crazy rate. 18 games in January and February. They're 16-2 straight up at home or on a neutral field. So, I mean, everything stacks up. we talk about Mahomes just having a chance at the end of the game. So that if he does, they're going to most likely be in a great spot to win that game. And that also comes from head coach Andy Reid, who knows how to put them in good positions as well, especially with managing the game along with Patrick Mahomes and that defense. So as long as the game's close, I think that's the key for the Kansas City Chiefs to be in it at the very end.
Yep, absolutely. Because you mentioned keeping the game close, and they certainly do have the weapons to do it with.
We also got to
go ahead, Illogical. What do you want to say?
Right. But we also like to shift to Philadelphia too. Like Kansas City has had a bit of an issue with the run game, with the run defense a bit. I mean, yeah, they had a resurgent year with Kareem Hunt as their main running back, but the Eagles got Saquon Barkley, and arguably enough, how the hell do you stop Saquon Barkley? Like, ask the Rams to try to stop Saquon Barkley. They couldn't. Ask the Commanders to. They couldn't. Ask Green Bay. They couldn't. Like, it seems that they wanted probably one of these surefire, one of the toughest running backs in the league to stop this season, and it shows. He's thrived in that Philadelphia system, but what are your keys to the game for the Eagles come Sunday night?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Saquon, he's an MVP. He's the what makes that team run. And again, I think the Green Bay Packers, to your point, were probably one of the tougher defenses across those two. I know Washington's defense and everyone else that they've played along this stretch through the playoffs has been kind of a little bit. They have some holes on the defensive side. Kansas City is going to be one of the better defenses they've played. Saquon plus 280 to win the MVP in this game, which I think is some decent value, especially with his props of anytime touchdown at minus 190. You got his rush total at 109. I do think those are a little juiced just based off of what he's done so far. So maybe has a little hesitant on putting a ton of money on the totals for the rushing side, at least at 109, just knowing that there's a lot of action probably going to come in on Saquon to get that. But I think as far as keys to the game for the Philadelphia Eagles, it's getting up early, right? I think that's it. You need to have a fast start in this game in order for you to have a chance to not have what we talked about with the Kansas City side of things, a close game at the end. Because if you do, you're in a world of trouble. If the Philadelphia Eagles come out in this game and they control the ball with Saquon and they're able to get up in this game, a couple scores right off the bat, and they're taking a nice double-digit lead into halftime, that's the best outcome you could possibly have, knowing that you are going to control the ball with Saquon and be able to kind of move the ball up the field little by little. Now, I think, too, as far as the Eagles, they give up less than 5 yards per play on average. The best defense in the league, especially the better defense that KC's going to be playing against. KC below average in yards per play, only 5.1 yards per play, but they can still put up points. So I think that's going to be a key to the game there in trying to make sure that the Eagles don't get big plays from Hollywood Brown or some of those other guys that they can score quickly. So Eagles defense is going to be a big part of this.
Yep, absolutely. And they have forced the most turnovers in the postseason. They forced 10 turnovers throughout the whole postseason. And you did touch upon Saquon Barkley, him being unstoppable. He is a 2,000-yard rusher for a reason. And however, you did mention the Kansas City defense. They are second in the league in terms of rushing defense against running backs. So that's going to be difficult. So that's probably going to be the toughest defense that Saquon Barkley is going to be facing. But the thing is, him and Jalen Hurts, they have been the duo when it comes to rushing. Because if you've seen the Eagles offense, they have been the highest percentage in rushing. However, they have been using their passing the least amount of times across all the teams in the league. They're the highest rushing, but they're the lowest passing. And the thing is, with Kansas City, of course, you got McDuffie on the other side. And, of course, that vaunted, and I think, how about those Chiefs? Cole, he mentioned this. The Eagles' O-line is extremely battered. And that's going to be huge news because George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Chris Jones and Chris Omenihu, they're going to be licking their chops and trying to get to Jalen Hurts. And that's going to be one of the toughest. That's going to be one of the toughest tests for the Philadelphia O-line, especially if they're beaten and battered like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be interesting. And, there's a lot of different bets in this game, under bets and different things. There's some, the Eagles, I like a couple throwing props for a couple of their wide receivers. I've already made a couple bets in this game as far as the some of the over-under totals and things along those lines. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating game when it comes to how the defenses are going to play against two offenses. Again, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs is necessarily prolific, but I do think that they're just smart in how they play every single time. Now, there's a couple things too. Philly and Buffalo, like the spread. If I were to ask you guys, who's better, Philly or Buffalo? Who would you say?
Tough one, but I would have to say Philly by a close bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
it's a tough call. It really is a tough call.
I mean, honestly, Philly, they have generally across the board they have players all over the place. I would say their wide receiver core is better. I would say their running backs are better. I would say their offensive line's better. I would say so generally we all have a consensus. I think Philly is a better team than Buffalo, right? We have a 1.5 point spread in this game. Last week, Buffalo on the road in Arrowhead closed as a pick'em. That being said, how can Philly not be favored in this game when it's on a neutral site and they're they're a better team than Buffalo? So think about that. So I think if there's anything in this game that really stands out, I think it's maybe a lean towards the Philadelphia Eagles in a close one, getting the +1.5. Maybe it closes at 2. Who knows? But I do like Philly on a lean. However, that comes with asterisks. I don't know if I could bet against Patrick Mahomes. so that being said,
no, you can't.
As much as I lean Philly in this game against the spread, I read all those stats about Patrick Mahomes earlier, and it's just a terrifying proposition to bet against him whatsoever. So just take that with what you will, that information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your prediction, what you're telling us, the Chiefs are going over in this game, based on what you believe and how you view the game and everything.
So I did bet. Here's the thing. The best, as a Broncos fan, the best bet I could make is for Kansas City to win this game, right? Because I'm going to be a happy man one way or another. Kansas City wins, I win money. Kansas City loses, I happily lose my money knowing I don't see a three-peat. So either way, I'm in a great spot. I do like a couple props here. I do like Kansas City team total over 24.5. I think they will be able to move the ball here in this game. Second half over. Second halves typically see more scoring than the first half. Teams feeling out the game. All the lights and glamour and everything else for the players starts out slow, like the over second half total 23.5, which I think it's still at. And then a couple props. AJ Brown over 70.5. They only throw to 3 guys, realistically. Yes. Goddard, AJ Brown are 2 of the guys that I target in this game. Goddard over 4.5 receptions. He had 8 targets in Washington against Washington. So like that as well. So yeah, just a few sprinkles on bets that I'll be talking about on my show later on tonight.
Yeah.
Again, the show Action Lab on Twitch. Check them out, 7:30 Mountain Time or 9:30 Eastern Time. And I know you, Scotty, and the other Chris, Reckoning, they're going to be talking about this. I'm trying to get him on if he's not too busy. But now you did mention your prediction is the Chiefs to win.
Unfortunately.
You can't beat Patrick because you're saying you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. It's like Tom Brady. You can't bet against him. No matter what we have, we're going to have somebody you can't bet against.
In the playoffs, as an underdog or favorite, under a field goal or less, 8-0 straight up and 8-0 against the spread. So what do you do with that? So yeah, my prediction is Chiefs just know how to manage the game. They're just meticulous in how they are put themselves in a great spot by the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I just think that they're the spot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who would you say the MVP of the game is?
If you're asking me the MVP from a pure value standpoint, I think Saquon is probably at a value prop, just under 3-1 to win MVP. Like Saquon, only just based off of his rushing props and his anytime touchdown numbers. In this one, minus 190 on the anytime touchdown, around 110 on the rushing yards. If he eclipses or gets to any of those and they win this game, I mean, he's going to be that MVP. He's been the MVP this entire run. It's kind of foolish to probably pick anybody else, knowing that Jalen Hurts isn't going to be in a position throwing the football. He's kind of banged up right now. Plus, he hasn't. The wide receivers for Philadelphia have been complaining about the passing game, and they've been winning games, which is mind-boggling to think that you're upset when you're in a Super Bowl, going to a Super Bowl on your way, and you're complaining about the passing game having issues. So I don't expect anybody offensively outside of Saquon on the Philadelphia side. If anything, a long shot dark horse could be Kelce in this one. I think his prop is like 18-1, maybe 13-1. I don't know. It's in the teens. So if you're going to dark horse, if you want to really get some value, a sprinkle on on Travis Kelce, but Patrick Mahomes or Saquon are sure things. I would say going with my heart or in here and not my head, I would go Saquon, but
All right.
It's most likely going to be Mahomes.
Okay. Actually, Lab, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you on, and hopefully we can stay in touch. Maybe we can do something else in the future, but we'll see.
Let me know whenever you guys have another show. Let me know what you guys are chatting about, and I'll definitely hop on. And again, likewise,
Absolutely.
we'll see you in the lab.
Yep,
absolutely, man. Thank you.
All right,
thank you for hopping on. See ya.
I go from there. And the next guest we have, very big name. You all love him. You all know him. You all love him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. 5.
What's going on?
What's going on, man? Good to see you again.
How's the grind going, fellas?
The grind is going all right. So
it's going all right.
Of course, Illogical, of course, has been on the dumpster fire with you and Tree, of course, and of course I haven't, but I love watching it. Just seeing how you guys demonetize yourselves every single Tuesday night.
It's a challenge every time, I tell you. We're doing our best.
Oh man. Honestly, you're going to this, division rival and the Eagles rather in the Super Bowl. I almost said the Phillies. Jesus Christ. Goes to show how much I pay attention.
Yeah, we're playing. Yeah, we're having the World Series twice a year, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
So the Eagles, obviously Super Bowl, obviously with your former guy running back Saquon. I'm sure, in some way you're gonna be happy for him, but at the same time you just hate every single minute of it, knowing that he's in the Super Bowl, running with the team that's been on fire this year, has not slowed down a single bit. Their defense has lit the league by storm. But honestly, you're probably the more knowledgeable one than us. What are the key game plans for the Eagles come Sunday?
Well, I mean, it's going to be whether their defense can hold up against the Kansas City offense. I think they're going to get theirs on offense for sure. Like Saquon's going to rush for the yards. That's going to open up the passing game. But whether their defense can stop Kansas City from scoring, that's going to be the biggest factor. Really, I mean, the Kansas City seems to pull games out no matter what. So it is going to be a close game. I think it's only a 1.5 is the spread. Kansas City slightly favored. Basically, Vegas is saying it's a pick 'em, which I think is logical. If you see how both teams have played to get to this point, they both have stout offenses. They both have defenses. But the narrative I want to see is whether Philly can keep Kansas City from scoring, because I just don't see no one stopped Saquon all year. No team has really shut them down. Even their odd losses, to the Commanders, they scored 35 points with Kenny Pickett under, so whether that's going to happen is up in the air for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You obviously know the Chiefs driving for that repeat. Mahomes, Kelce, Worthy, Hopkins, Kareem Hunt,
DeAndre
Checo,
Hopkins, Isaiah Pacheco,
Noah Gray, even
Kareem
emerging
Hunt,
as another
Hollywood
tight end
Brown.
threat.
I mean, the Kansas City should have plenty of offensive weapons. Hollywood Brown's kind of been MIA this whole playoffs. DeAndre Hopkins really hasn't put up much. Kelce, they're going to forget to cover Kelce a couple times for sure. You can't concentrate on everyone. But they've also been, they haven't been all that impressive lately either. Kansas City really hasn't dominated. They've just won games. But, the Patriots would do this in the 2000s. They would just kind of, the year that they pissed on everyone, 2008, they ended up losing in the Super Bowl. So Kansas City, again, is a team that is interesting. I don't expect them to dominate this game. I don't expect them to blow the Eagles out in any way, but I do expect it to be a very close game. Sort of they should be trading punches a lot.
Yeah, 2 years ago in Glendale, that was a classic for the ages. I don't see why this one would be any different. But you did touch upon Saquon being unstoppable. Of course, he does have 2,000 rushing yards in the season, like we mentioned earlier. But of course, Kansas City is a very nice defense, and that's one of the reasons why they ended 15-2 in the regular season. They have the second, and as I mentioned earlier, second best rushing defense in the NFL. So that might limit Saquon a bit, but I highly doubt he's going to get less than 100 yards on Sunday night. But this O-line for Kansas City, they're going to have a tough task themselves with Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Milton Williams, and Jalen Carter. And you did touch upon Travis Kelce being – I'm sure they're going to forget to cover Kelce like 3 or 4 times but you still got Quinyon Mitchell, who's been having an impressive rookie campaign, Cooper DeJean, and Darius Slay. I think those would be the biggest names to look out for the Eagles. But what would you say would be the big names to look out for?
Well, I mean, all the names that you mentioned for sure, they're going to play pivotal roles. It's going to be scheme and execution. The Eagles, if you play zone against Kansas City, Mahomes is going to find a hole in the zone. If you play one-on-one, that's probably the route that I think that they can go. I think they can match up well. You got 2 really good corners, Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean. It's not like the number one threat. It's not like there's a Tyreek Hill out there that's just burning through defenses, cutting through zone defenses, beating guys one-on-one. But Kansas City always finds a way to get it done. So we'll see. I mean, you'll know very quickly how the game is going to go if Kansas City is going to be able to dink and dunk. That's the one thing I don't really see is Kansas City taking too many tremendous deep shots. They didn't do that through the playoffs. You saw the Texans had a great defense. The Bills had a above average defense, but they still did enough to beat the Texans. And on the flip side, Kansas City has a great defense. They're going to blitz a lot. The thing is, the answer to that is Saquon, right? Mm-hmm. So if Saquon can gain yards and get his on the ground, you'll know quickly what's going to happen for sure.
Yeah.
With especially Saquon. If the Eagles win the toss, I'd expect them to kick. But if they lose it and they get the first possession, like first play is going to be a pitch to Saquon, and they're going to want to establish that run right away. They're not gonna. The last thing you're gonna expect is them to chuck it deep first play. It's gonna be like either a pitch left or an inside handoff.
Like I mentioned earlier, highest rushing offense, but the least passing offense. That's been the story for Philadelphia because they're first in run, dead last in passing. That's mainly what they've been trying to do. So looking at these two squads, what is basically going to be your prediction? I know you already mentioned it during the media stream yesterday, but what would you say is your prediction?
Predicting I don't see me having like a good day. I would expect the Eagles to win. I would expect there to just be, a lot. Your previous guest, what was his name? I'm sorry. Chris. Yeah. He said, don't bet against Patrick Mahomes, which is tough. Like these guys have won 2 in a row, but there's never been a three-peat in the NFL. They don't like dynasties. They don't like it's very tough to win this thing 3 times in a row. Now, Kansas City is the top seed coming in, and I think they have everything in place to win it. But if it is a close game, I think they pull it out. That's why the Eagles, if they do win, I said 31-28, that score would come late. It would be like 31-21. And then the Eagles would score to make it 31-28 and like have to go for an onside or something. And then it would be done. Like, I don't see they're having like the Eagles are going to have to get out to a big lead and just incrementally have it be chipped away at versus coming from behind, etc. But, I did say it'd be a back and forth game, but maybe they wrestle them down. But I don't know. I'm only taking the Eagles because I just, that's how my life would go.
Wow. All right. So
lastly, who would you say your Super Bowl MVP would be?
Yeah.
Gosh, I would think if the Eagles win, it's going to be Saquon, right? And there's really just no. That's the only way they can win is if Saquon rushes for 150 yards, which is quite possible. He could rush for 200. I know Kansas City has a good run defense, but that is because they blitz, and a lot of times they're ahead, and you don't run the ball when you're behind necessarily. I know they're in a lot of close games, but stats can be deceptive. Just having a number 1 run defense it could be statistically because a lot of teams just did not run against them. So I don't know what kind of analysis or what that ranking entails. Is it the amount of yards they prevented off of snaps, that were actual runs, or is it just complete, run yardage allowed?
For overall, the second best rushing defense versus the running backs. That's basically what the NFL site said. But I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to get less than 100 yards on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's taking that bet. Like, I think the over-under is 113.5, and everyone's taking the over. Like, you'd be foolish not to. And if he doesn't, 115 yards, that's a monster game for anyone. That's a normal game for Saquon Barkley, which is insane. So we'll see. It's like betting against Derrick Henry scoring a touchdown. Like, he's going to score a touchdown. He's going to get in the end zone. Like, that's why the props on Barkley, it's like plus 600 or something. Or, minus 700 or 800 for anytime TD. It's just a lock. Like, Vegas thinks it's going to happen. You should probably think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not even worth betting on, honestly. Maybe 1 or 2. If 2 touchdowns might be a value bet, but I don't know. I'm not really betting much on this game. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. Is there anything you want to plug for yourself? Like shout something out?
Not just 5 points vids. Just hanging in there, making videos, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great show.
Thank you so much, man, for taking your time to come on here.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll link up again for the NFL draft. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you got Ag coming on next. What's up, Ag? Text me later, bro. All right, see y'all.
All right, see you.
Later.
See ya.
Later. Well, I mean, he just kind of introduced our next guest already, so
He
I
did.
don't think there was any time to waste there.
Aloha.
Hey, how's it, y'all?
Live from New York, it's Bull Muscle.
It is very cold here. I took a random walk down Wall Street, so I figured I'd sit around here and wait to give you a decent backdrop. But
Were there any wolves in Wall Street?
Are there any walls on Wall Street?
I am literally on Wall Street. That's
There's plenty of them. Well, of course there are.
Oh my lord!
I mean, right? Of all people,
especially the snow coming tomorrow too. So, well, tonight for New York City, they're getting snow tonight too. So, have fun with that.
Yeah, definitely not used to the weather here. It's like 84 degrees in Honolulu, and I kind of miss that, to be honest, already. It's not too cold here, but like I'm definitely out of season, to put it mildly. But it's been pretty fun so far. Already gone through one casting call, got a fitting later, gonna do rehearsals tomorrow, and then 3 shows on the runway Friday, Saturday, possibly 4. We're not sure yet, and a photo shoot. So gonna be pretty crazy here.
God damn. Busy ass man.
Yes, I did take a picture with the bull because, well, why wouldn't I?
Good. Good. But obviously heading into Sunday, you know, we were just talking about with your buddy Five. We were talking about with another guy that was on here. Like, this is gonna be a very close fucking game. I think all things considered, this might be one of the closest games that we've seen all year. And Kansas City, they're gonna really need to reach down to try and beat Philadelphia. We saw this is a different Chiefs team a few years ago when they faced Philadelphia in Glendale. This is a different team. Now we're on this collision course for hell.
What I would tell you is that, and I'll give my prediction to keep it real short and simple for the audience here. On paper, Philadelphia wins this game. I'm very convinced of that. The running game and a good defense does carry you pretty far in the Super Bowl. That's not to take anything away from Kansas City. However, this isn't a paper game. This is real life. You might love them, you might hate them, but the Chiefs find ways to win games that they really otherwise shouldn't. And that is the hallmark that all the great dynasties of the sport have had. Whether or not they can make it a three-peat is going to be based on that. For me, it's hard to argue otherwise. I would go with the Chiefs, even though I would say Philadelphia is probably the better team. I think the Chiefs will find a way to win. Probably got something to do with BS, to be honest. I would expect some BS in this game.
BS, any given Sunday, all that jazz. Yeah.
Why do you think I put the fucking refs in the thumbnail of the video that came out today?
I would not put it past the refs to have a outsized influence or greater than average influence on this game.
I was like, oh, but don't you know the refs hate it when they have this weird conspiracy of being for the Chiefs and against everyone else.
They don't care. Whatever brings in the most money, really, for the. I mean, you know, speaking of being on Wall Street, but let's be realistic. It's all a big money grab. So I think the game will be close. I think the refs are going to keep it close. But if it is close, the Chiefs are going to find a way to win.
Yep.
I do. I don't think they're the better team, but I think they'll find a way to win.
And who's the Super Bowl MVP?
Come again?
Who do
you think is going to win Super Bowl MVP?
If it's the MVP, they're going to give it to Mahomes, whether or not Mahomes deserves it. If the Eagles win, it'll be Saquon, but Saquon actually does deserve it.
True.
I mean, we haven't had a player on the losing team win MVP in a while. I think you have to go back.
You could very, very easily make the argument for Saquon because he has just been an absolute monster. But, I mean, if he had not sat out against the Giants, I think he would have beaten Eric Dickerson's record, which is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, granted, Dickerson did fewer games, but still.
But still, being a member of the 2,000-yard club, that's got to be part of something.
That's a very elite core.
Exactly.
Right.
We'll give you the time if you want to plug anything for yourself. This is your time, man. What do you have to say?
Yeah, go ahead. Drop me a follow on YouTube. Channel name's Bull Muscle. Going to have a lot more content coming up. consultations, fitness advice, dating advice, financial advice. I'm not an official one, but, financially independent at the age of 29 didn't happen on its own. So just saying, drop me a line, askbullmuscle@gmail.com if any of y'all want to write me in. Otherwise, I'll be back in the islands in a couple of days and sort of back to normal life, at least for a little while. Who knows? Maybe this modeling thing goes crazy, though. There's always a chance.
You
All
never
right,
know.
sounds good.
Keep y'all
Thank you for hopping on. Thank you for taking some time.
Absolutely.
All right, enjoy NYC. All right.
All right, and come on next is a very dear friend of mine. I met her back in college. Damn sure, fucking surefire son of a bitch. Ladies and gentlemen, the next guest at this time, a good friend Johnson into the den.
Hey, bitches! Woo! What is it? To answer the last guy's thing of the last Super Bowl MVP to lose. It's only happened once. That being Chuck. That being who was it? Chuck Howley, the linebacker for the Cowboys in Super Bowl 5, where they lost to the Baltimore Colts.
Yep. That's,
Okay.
I said, it only happened one time, and it hasn't happened in 54 years. But consider knowing this year's
it's
NFL,
gonna happen this year. They're gonna give it to Saquon.
Just give it to Saquon, please, regardless of who
Get
wins.
the Saquon. Oh my god!
Well, yeah,
I fully expect this to be a fucking run game as well.
Speaking of Saquon, let's go ahead and go over your keys to the game for both of these squads. Of course, it's the matchup we don't want, Kansas City, Philadelphia, but you cannot deny that these two are definitely the strongest teams in the postseason. But Jocelyn, what do you think is going to be the keys of the game for the Eagles?
We were this close to Bills Commanders. We were this fucking close to Bills Commanders.
I mean, we were.
There goes the chair.
Close to Bills Commanders.
We weren't really.
There goes the chair.
I mean,
we weren't really close with
the Commanders, but we were with the Bills.
But keys of the game. Okay, keys of the game.
Oh my god!
So I think honestly the key of the game is the same key of the game to every single Super Bowl, and that this is going to be one in the trenches. This is going to be one in which it's going to come down to who has the better O-line, and we've seen. I mean, shit. The only Super Bowl loss that Mahomes has to this date is because he was playing with 4 rookie O-linemen. And sure, he played like shit in that game, regardless. But like, yeah, he even still, every single Super Bowl is predicated on who has a good offensive line. And we're in a situation where we have 2 elite ones. And honestly, I think it's not necessarily a matter of can the offensive line can the offensive line stop the pass rush before stop the pass rush. It's can the offensive line create holes for the running back. And I think, I mean, shit, we just saw Saquon and put up elite numbers all season, being this close to being to breaking Eric Dickerson's record for most rushing yards in a season. Granted, adjusted for inflation, and I don't think anybody's beating is 144 yards per game. But
oh god, no.
But I think, I mean, I would also say that it's going to come down to offensive line and especially for the Eagles, it's going to come down to defense. We've seen Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean be an elite, be elite cornerback duo. But can they do it on the biggest stage against the Chiefs like this?
No, I agree with you. Especially like you get the fact like there's some names that nobody's seen them actually. Like, we're talking about guys like N'Kobe D, Jalen Carter.
Oh, 100%.
A few others on that team I'm forgetting.
I would say that Jalen Carter was the steal of his draft, but like we all know why he went down tonight. We all know why he went down. And we don't need to, and more importantly, we don't really need to litigate it anymore. People fuck up when they're young. People fuck up when you're young, and even if it's something that horrible, I think that people still deserve some an honest second chance at life, and I think that Jalen Carter is putting the work to deserve some that levity. So with N'Kobe Dean and Jalen Carter, how are they going to stack up against an offensive line with Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey? That is going to be
simple. Just make Jawan Taylor a fucking false start a bunch of times.
They're not going to call that though. They're not going to call that, which is probably the first.
Have you not seen a game of football this year? Jawan Taylor gets called for false start more than anybody I know, including Broderick Jones.
Listen. Listen. Even though I work at Gillette Stadium, I've been focusing on the downfall of another Boston franchise. Do we have the clip of me screaming into my blowhard?
I don't think we do, but
so.
Fuck, I don't.
You can definitely provide it, Justin. All right,
the chair has been rescued. Next thing you know, Justin's gonna fucking choke slam that fucking chair.
Fuck that.
Oh, there goes the camera. No, the camera's dead.
God, son of a bitch. Okay,
she broke the fucking camera.
Well,
she was gonna slam that fucking chair.
Well, this isn't the first, and it won't be the last. One of these days, I'm gonna get a DSLR camera and not have to deal with a shitty ass webcam. But in any case, it is also going to come down to tightening the screws and mitigating sort of penalties. Granted, we know that we know the refs' proclivities at this point, but that is going to be the key to this game. Offensive line, in defense, and mitigating penalties.
Fucking DM, dog.
It's gonna be the limit. Of course, for Kansas City, not only do you have to deal with Jawan Taylor getting false starts every 10 plays, you have to deal with a defense that has produced so many turnovers throughout this whole season. Kansas City was actually on a roll during the second half of the season. After the bye week, I don't think they turned the ball over once until the AFC Championship when they
Then
and Jocelyn.
It seems like Buffalo knows how to fucking.
Sorry, my mom was calling for me for a quick second.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem. It's all good.
Fucking.
But,
God, man.
You already talked about players to watch out for. You mentioned both O lines. You mentioned the receiving cores for each of the teams. So, what do you think? What is going to be your prediction? Like, how do you think this game is going to go? Will the Eagles finally take down the Kings, or will the Chiefs three-peat for the first time ever?
Well, no matter who wins, we all lose. We all lose, and then we all win again for 20 minutes because of a certain guy from Carson, California. Yes, I have Kendrick's pop out concert from the forum on cassette. Legitimately one of the coolest things that I own. Cannot wait for him to call Drake a PDF file downloader on live television again, and then we're all gonna win for another we're all gonna win for 20 minutes, and then we're all gonna lose again because we need to go back to watching this slop. Honestly, I could see this being the year that Philly does it. I think that the way that their roster is constructed is a lot more cohesive to a strong offensive attack than in Kansas City. And even though Steve Spagnuolo is apparently like the second fucking coming of Bill Belichick when it comes to defensive scheme, I could still see the dual threat of AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, as well as their two tight ends. Tanner, feel free to shout it out.
I'll do you one better.
There you go. And
God,
Saquon.
can't escape.
And Saquon, I could see that being too much for Casey. Casey has won pretty much all their. Casey has won most of their games this season by just one score. So their entire thing is just tightening it up. Is just tightening up in the fourth quarter. We saw the Commanders completely pull away in the fourth against the. We saw the Eagles completely pull away in the fourth quarter against the Commanders. I could see something similar happening. I also don't have faith in Kansas City's receiving core at this point. Honestly, after Tyreek Hill left, it's been kind of bare bones. Their best receiver, honestly, is probably Xavier Worthy at this point. And he only really had like 3 or 4 insane weeks. But other than and like Travis Kelce, who might retire at the end of this, who knows? But yeah. I could see the roster construction of Philly is probably going to be better than the Lucky Rabbit's foot, the horseshoe, the manifestation of the number 13, and everybody who has ever walked under a ladder shoved up their asses that KC has.
What?
Every black magic thing you could possibly think of. Black cats, the number 13, walking under a ladder, broken mirrors, everything just shoved up their ass.
Hey, yo, sir, Paul.
I'm sorry. How else am I supposed to describe the amount of shit that the amount of bullshit that Casey has pulled off to get to where they are this season? If you flip every single one-score game that they have, they're like a 5-12 team. They're not.
Exactly.
This is the most beatable that Kansas City has ever been, and if there's any team to beat it, unfortunately, it is Philadelphia.
Yeah. But I'd rather have Philadelphia than Kansas City.
Yeah,
I would rather have Philadelphia than Kansas City win, but I'd also rather have dog shit than horse shit. That doesn't mean that I want dog shit.
Yeah, I guess that's
fair.
Yeah. But again, people in Philadelphia eat horse shit because you've seen it during their last Super Bowl run. But who's going to be your MVP?
I already said it. I think that I honestly think that Saquon Barkley might. I think that Saquon is going to pull out all the stops for this game. I really don't see. I really don't see in Kansas City's defensive scheme being enough to stop him. If it's not him, then I could see it going to either quarterback. Obviously, I don't see it. I don't see this being one of the years where it goes to a defensive player, just because I mean, and the NFL has made it obvious their stance on any sort of league-wide award, unless it is specifically made for defense. You're kind of shit out of luck.
Yeah.
So I would but if this ends up being a defensive, but if this ends up being one where a defensive player wins MVP, I could see it going to Chris Jones, Jalen Carter, or Quinyon Mitchell.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh. Interesting. All right. So, all right, Jocelyn, thank you so much for hopping on. Long time no see. Actually,
it's been a while. I've been busy trying to apply to freaking everything. I even betrayed all my morals and applied for a job with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh,
God. But yeah, check me out at Into the Den, and I make videos after every single Bruins game. And closing in on 100 subscribers. I'm starting to edit a lot more. I'm starting to put out shorts. And 5. Thank you, Valor. And 5, and Adam 5. If you're watching this, go Bruins! Fuck the Rangers. James Dillon is a piece of shit, and Rangers can eat my ass. All right, see you guys.
See ya. Thank you for going on.
Dear God.
Oh my God. And next one. For the next guest, I don't know if it'll be the last one. I have no idea.
Our last guest.
Potentially, but we'll see. Coming to you from the confines of buttfuck nowhere, Maryland. The man who likes weed in his tacos. The man that likes mammoth so much. The guy with the very concerning fetish for VTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Valor.
Why are you spreading false information about me? First
Sorry,
up,
Valor,
I'm going
this
to beat
isn't
the shit out of you. I need to steal Jocelyn's chair to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys probably don't know me that often. Hi, I'm Valor. I frequently just show up on these two streams.
He also
much
frequently
the hidden
sits over
notorious-
VTubers.
No, I don't.
Let Valor talk.
Let me talk, damn it. So I see here we got ourselves the most. Some people say it's unwatchable. I like to call it the least anticipated Super Bowl in a long time. I mean, I get it. Both of these teams are pretty damn good. One team is literal devil magic. The other team, you're riding the backs of a 2,000-yard rusher we haven't seen in many seasons. Obviously, the key thing we gotta wonder here is, of course, can the Kansas City defense shut down Saquon Barkley? Obviously, they've done their research after pretty much getting gashed by the Ravens' run game for many years, and still beating them. As much as I hate to say it. God damn it, it should have been us in there, not you. But we'd probably find a way to piss the game away against you. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Let's get back into here. Obviously, you got Chris Jones, one of the best linemen in the game currently, arguably the best. So I feel like you also have a good lot of weapons in Kansas City secondary too. Like it was mentioned earlier, Kansas City by far has produced the most turnovers in anybody in the playoffs. That's what I like to say is the big matchup here. Some people will say the other way around, but obviously, I think this is not going to be a high-scoring game as much people think that's what they want to see. I think it's more going to be more of a modest scoring game.
And by the way,
The
that
big
was
question, of course,
Philadelphia.
here: Philly's defensive line is terrifying. Cooper DeJean is a beast. I had to mention the Zach Bond guy that they have. This guy on a small contract right now. Dude's going to get paid this offseason. He's had a great year.
Yeah, and you're more likely
Anyway.
to have him on Travis Kelce.
Not to mention, of course, I've been talking about Philly for a while. Kansas City is sort of the team that's everybody does not want to see in there, but they've always found a way to get in, and that's largely because Andy Reid is probably the best mind in football right now. He always finds ways to win and craft something up. That's why that's how I've learned to respect Kansas City as a team. Sure, some of the people on the team seem unlikable, but Mahomes is a very likable guy. He's probably one of the most humble people I've seen in the league.
Oh, that's very nice of you, man. Thank you for that.
Oh, for God's sake!
He's not talking about you.
He doesn't sound like that.
All right, you sure about that, man? Are you really sure about that?
God dang it!
Dear Christ.
Anyway,
Patrick Mahomes, please stand up.
Yeah, they still have a pretty strong thing. Also, Kelce's been getting hot in the playoffs recently. When he gets hot, Kelce becomes unstoppable. I don't care if they get a little more spotlight because Kelce's too busy banging probably the biggest artist in the music world in Taylor Swift, but who cares? I'm fine with that publicity. It's a good thing.
Yeah, more eyes on the game.
More eyes on the game for viewers. Sure. Some people are probably going to care more about the halftime show. I mean, of course, don't strike a chord with a minor.
God damn it, Valor. We told you.
You knew I had to lead into that thing because my top 40 station has been playing Not Like Us for I've heard it 5 times in the past 3 days.
So, in other words, you've been prepping for this Kendrick Lamar show.
Yes, I've been prepping because I've been listening to a lot of his music recently. Because my brother and sister are into Kendrick music a lot, so they got me into it.
Don't tell Billy.
Sorry, Billy. She rejected you already.
Ouch.
I told him this many times, but yeah, he continues to ignore the fact that it actually happened. Anyway,
Ever heard of the definition of insanity? That's exactly what he's living.
If I take a look at each individual position, for quarterback-wise, I take Mahomes over Hurts. Mahomes is the more experienced QB. He's gotten to the top of the mountain 3 times already. He's been to 4 Super Bowls. He always has the determination to win.
Just don't ask what happened in that one.
How would I doubt Saquon Barkley? Dude's an animal. Like I said, healthy Saquon, if he stays that way, is terrifying. Yeah, especially when I saw the Giants, I'm like, that's why they went to the playoffs one year. And hell, what a playoff game. Healthy Saquon.
And look what the Eagles got. Healthy fucking Saquon.
Healthy freaking Saquon. And now he's a 2,000-yard monster who's probably, if he keeps playing this way, is going to get a spot in Canton very soon.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Saquon Barkley, if he hasn't submitted his spot in Canton right.
Anyway, of course,
he's definitely
wide receiver-wise, I am going to give once again the edge to the Eagles. You got 2 elite deep threats in Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. And what does Kansas City have? Hollywood Brown? he's a solid receiver, but that name still hurts me because that's a former Ravens first-round pick.
And not to mention, they also have
he did not
should have been a Buffalo Bill and Xavier Worthy.
Also, Xavier Worthy exists as well, but given the more veteran status, I am going to give the slight edge to Philly. A.J. freaking Brown. That's what I just have to say. If you get one step behind him, he's going for a 70-yard touchdown. That's the way this team runs. Smash mouth offense. and loves doing it. So I have to go in. So really here, offensive wise, I'm mostly leading Philly, but I've always said this for a while with Kansas City, the narrative with them. It's like what we said with Brady in the past. You can't go against Kansas City. I pretty much said every time I've seen it go against them, they keep burning my face every time.
Yep.
Now, I'm not trying to jinx them or anything, but really, it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. This is where the referee factor comes in. I know a lot of people are not happy about. Some people believe that Kansas City gets favorable treatment for the refs. I mean, to be fair, it's not mostly Mahomes. He's literally in the middle of the pack for roughing the passer calls. I mean, he doesn't flop as much as someone like Josh Allen, for example. He flops a lot more than Mahomes does.
Salt.
And he leads the league in roughing the passer calls.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So really, I think the refs are hopefully going to be less of a non-factor because, in my opinion, it's going to come down to the ball last. And I just cannot go against the Chiefs here. I'm going to say a last-second kick. Let's just keep it as this. I am going to say 30-27 in favor of Kansas City. I don't care about a three-peat. I don't care if Kelce proposes to Swift live on TV. If that ends up happening at the end, that way so we could have Kelce have his fairy tale ending and pretty much
Oh,
go
good
off.
God. We just had a big basketball trade again.
Oh, my God. Can the NBA
Yeah,
stop
the
blowing
Kings.
up stuff?
Yeah, it's the Kings this time.
Yeah,
What did
it's the
Saquon do?
Kings and Wizards. Jonas Valanciunas.
Jonas Valanciunas. Yeah, because remember, the Wizards, that's not the only trade the Wizards have done today.
Yeah, he's
The Wizards also traded Shaq and a Fool legend Kyle Kuzma to the Bucks for Chris Middleton.
Hold on. Okay then. And I was not expecting that, but yeah.
Anyway, I said with that, but the MVP, in my opinion,
Okay.
once again, you can't doubt him. I think Patrick Mahomes picks up his 4th Super Bowl MVP. Ridiculous. Like, he could retire right now and still get in the Hall of Canton, no problem.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's just the management around Kansas City. Mahomes himself is generational talent. He learned from a great mind in Alex Smith. It's just, how do you go against him? And if Philly ends up winning, congratulations, you beat the Empire. Let's see how is Kansas City going to get stronger in the offseason? It's can anybody in the AFC beat him? The two usual suspects both lost because of self-inflicted mistakes.
Oh. Do you got anything else for him?
All right. I like to say this.
Really.
I hope this game does not end in controversy. I want a good, clean game.
Yep.
Because
just watch.
remember,
There's going to be 3. Just watch. The Eagles are going to get 3 sacks in a row. And then on 4th down, they're going to do a short pass and then get called for pass interference. I'm telling you right now. That's what
I don't think that ends that way. Because remember, the last year's Super Bowl didn't end on a controversial call. The past 2 Super Bowls, the winning team won because of a controversial hold.
Yeah.
Let's hope that we go 2 straight years without a controversial call deciding a Super Bowl.
One can only fucking pray.
I'm down.
Let's hope for a clean game, and I don't care who wins.
There you go.
Although I do much prefer seeing Philly win, I do have Kansas City win.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, Valor. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Great to be here.
Now go sit for more VTubers, you sick fuck.
Nope. I'm going to go back to my hole, continue watching Capital stuff because that's what I'm mainly focused on now, and continuing my run in the USF playoffs.
Fair enough.
All right, sounds good.
Illogical, you may not like this, but if everything holds, I'm facing a certain skinwalker in the second round.
Oh,
Good luck.
Yeah.
You're
all
gonna
right.
need it.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Alrighty.
See you.
And now it's our turn, Duck, I think.
Yep, it is.
Our turn. So I'll let you take first lead on it.
So we talked about this with Chris. We talked this about 5. We talked with this about Jocelyn and of course Valor. Philadelphia has both of these teams have pretty elite defenses. That's why they're here. Both of these teams are producing 10 sacks. Both of these teams have produced 10 sacks in this postseason. Of course, Kansas City had their turnover streak come to an end after it started from the bye week, and then it started from the Bills, and it ended with the Bills. And of course, Philadelphia, they produced 10 turnovers, more than any other defense.
Yeah.
Now, they were one of the best in terms of – now, Philadelphia has given up less total yards and rushing yards, but Kansas City has an even better secondary. And considering Philadelphia doesn't use their pass rush, doesn't use their passing much, it's a question how that's going to be effective for Kansas City there. And of course you can't talk about both these teams without talking about their dynamic duos. Of course, on Kansas City, you got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. That's going to be, and those two always turn it on when it comes to the playoffs. And then, of course, you have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley using their legs. And, of course, you have the thing where, and of course, and Kansas City already has a decent rushing attack themselves with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. But you're going up against the number 1 scoring defense. But then again, like Chris mentioned earlier, or 5 mentioned earlier, you have to get off to a hot start. You have to get off to a fast start and go for like 1 or 2 touchdowns on your opening drives. You have to be out in front early because Kansas City can easily claw their way back into it. It doesn't matter how many points you put on them, they'll try to claw back. Like Kansas City, they just got 30 points for the first time this whole season at the AFC Championship. They are capable of producing whatever game they want to produce. And, of course, it's going to be a battle between the O-lines. Can Philadelphia hold up against the likes of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis? And can Kansas City hold the likes of Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter back? And it's going to be, on paper, this looks like a very close matchup with the Eagles winning. In real life, I think it's going to be a close matchup with the Chiefs winning. I'm going to say Meteor 420, Nuke 69, Kansas City 31, Philadelphia 28.
There's a lot I can think of too of this game too, because for Philadelphia, the key takeaways are to trying to break around that Chiefs run game as much as you can on your own offensive side of the ball. Saquon's very capable of getting around that run defense. He's able to get around that secondary. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and a couple others, they're capable of getting around that secondary at all costs because all they need to do is find one little mistake, and that can turn into a big gain. That could turn into something very quickly if they can exploit that beautifully. But it's also going to come down to their defense as well. If their defense can hold up and they can maintain form what they've been doing all season, then this is definitely Philadelphia's game to win. For Kansas City, the game plan is simple. Keep it close, keep it competitive, and force Philadelphia to make mistakes on every turn that you can. If you're able to catch them slacking off in one part, you could It's like I just said, you could turn it to anything as long as you're able to capitalize on it the right way. Now, can they? Probably. They probably can, probably won't. Who knows? But this is a Kansas City team that, like Doug just said, has only gotten over 30 points one time. And that was the AFC Championship game. Other than that, they have not gotten past 30 at all this year, or have even reached 30. Kansas City, I mean, it's like I said in the Amateur's Guide video. They took a step back this season, but are still in the Super Bowl. It's hard to repeat a Super Bowl champions, let alone trying for a third. This is honestly going to be a very tough game for both sides, and it's going to come down to who can make the who can avoid making the more costly mistake. I have the Eagles obviously winning this game, but mind you, this could get very close very quick. Give me 34-31. Elliott kicks a 46-yard field goal to win it. With as a clock hits 0.
You have Jake Elliott finally putting an end to the Kansas City reign of terror.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, and so for my end of the game, I'm just gonna have Kansas City up 31-21. Eagles getting a touchdown with like 10 seconds left, and of course an onside kick that of course fails.
What are you coming 5 points now? Is that what you're doing?
I guess so. I mean, he has a point on that one. That's likely how that game's gonna end. But in terms of MVP, who do you have?
If the Eagles win it, I have Saquon. If the Chiefs win it, I have the referees.
Oh, here we go again. They're gonna make us. You're making us think that we're one of those people. Actually, no. If the Chiefs win it, it's gonna be Mahomes for sure.
Yeah.
If the Eagles win it, please give it to Saquon Barkley. Please give it to him.
We'll actually give it a fucking like Grand Calcaterra or some shit like that.
I don't know. If he catches like 4 touchdowns, they might have to give it to him.
So just watch him give it to him out of spite. Just watch. Yeah. We all know how this goes.
Yeah, possibly. But we've been on for an hour 13. We met some pretty good people. We actually got Chris on here for the first time. We got 5 points on here for the first time.
Well, not for me, at least.
Well, not for you, because, yeah, dumpster fire. And you've also had Tree on for an interview for...
I've had Tree on for an interview. I've had actually 2 interviews, 2 Amateur's Guide videos, plus dumpster fire. I've had 5 or 2 interviews in the dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then now this, so that makes the third time I've had 5.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. So, yeah, we're going places in life, basically. So, that's going to do it for us. So,
Bro does one good thing, and his ego goes through the fucking roof.
Shush. Matter of fact, fuck you. There's going to be a solo stream for the last minute. I'm just messing with you.
Fucking bitch.
Get yourself back in. Get your ass back in there. But that's going to do it for us. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to both of our channels, the Logical Canadian Sports Network and the Red River Duck All Sports Network. Huge thanks to Chris from Action Lab. Check them out on Twitch. And a huge shout out to 5 Points Fits for hopping on. You, of course, know where to find them on YouTube and everything else.
Oh, yeah. I don't think anyone needs to say where you find them.
And, of course, Jocelyn with Into the Den. And, of course, you can check out Valor with a Logical Canadian on United Shitposting Federation recaps and everything else. But that's going to do it from me. That's going to do it for me and Illogical. But until we meet again,
take care, people.
See you guys in the next one. And we'll see you guys on Sunday for Super Bowl 59. Enjoy the game.